Well, the big breaking story we're tracking for you this morning, the Delhi Police Cyber Unit has registered an FIR in cases related to objectionable religious remarks. Now, this is very interesting, Divya, because Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal have both been named in these FIRs and also includes others like journalist Sabha Naqvi, Hindu Mahasabha office bearer Pooja Shakun Pandey, Maulana Mufti Nadeem from Rajasthan and the Peace Party chief spokesperson Shadab Chauhan.
Right, Rishika, a case has been registered over indecent remarks that was made against different religions and also over social media posts that were put out allegedly to spoil the social harmony.
Let's go right across to Akshay Dongre joining us with the very latest. So, Akshay, Delhi police has filed an FIR against 9 people. This includes the likes of Nupur Sharma, Naveen Jindal and of course journalist Sabha Naqvi among a whole host of other people. What has prompted this FIR? On whose complaint has it been filed?
Well, that's the biggest question, Rishika, because it is still unclear that whether the FIR has been filed suo motu or it has been filed based on complaints of individuals, because there have been people who have been complaining about these kind of posts being made on social media that could disrupt the social harmony. However, the police have said that they have been monitoring social media posts of a lot of these people, and the FIR, now that it has been filed, the police can now investigate the role of these people. Now, very interesting point is that while the cyber unit of Special Cell has filed this FIR, the FIR which also names Nupur Sharma and the likes of Peace Party members, that also has been made based on the comments that they have made on news channels, because that, remember, has in fact is the epicenter of the entire controversy that erupted. And now the questions are also being raised that why exactly the delayed response by the Delhi police, because these kind of posts have been made in the past as well. We have seen, based on the comments of the former BJP spokesperson Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal, there has been an entire diplomatic row that has started with India and Arab nations. And now, whether the action by the Delhi police is to justify that India is doing something as far as bringing the
Akshay,
culprit.
do we have any clarity on, what are the sections under which this FIR has been filed?
Well, we are in fact trying to find out more details about it, but there are very limited details that police is revealing, given the high profile nature of this entire FIR, because it names former BJP spokespersons, it names journalists, it names politicians, it names other religious leaders as well. And Pooja Shakun Pandey, who in fact is associated with Hindu Mahasabha, has earlier been in fact booked as well for making hateful comments. So this information, this FIR that has now come in picture, the police is probing the entire matter now. In all likelihood, this is a suo motu complaint that has been filed, but still the police has not officially said that based on what complaints the FIR has been filed and why does it name these 9 individuals based on what complaints. So more clarity is required on that. We are trying to find out more details for that, but now that these two former BJP spokesperson and journalists have been booked in this FIR, it's gonna be very interesting to see that how police has put all of these people on same pedestals, and whether the comments that they made were of equally serious nature as far as spreading hate and...
Well, like you said, Akshay, more unanswered questions at the moment. We will, of course, keep coming back to you for more updates. So, they were very interesting to see that this FIR has been filed. A whole host of people have been named, but we don't know what are the charges. We don't know who has filed the FIR. So, the Delhi Police Cyber Cell clearly being, very sketchy with those details. Like we said, it's a breaking story and we'll continue to get those updates from Akshay.
Right, Rishika, Sabha Naqvi also has tweeted that she is going off social media.
Yes, and she's one of those named in that FIR.
Right, exactly. So, and also we have Uddhav Thackeray, the latest to hit out at the BJP over its former spokesperson's comments on the Prophet, and he said that the country had to go down on its knees in front of the countries that are the Middle Eastern countries because of those remarks that were made by Nupur Sharma.
Well, absolutely. He called it an international embarrassment that was caused because of the BJP, and he's also said that he wants to ask Mohan Bhagwat if this is actually the behavior that he expected of the ruling party. Listen in.
पण आज एका भाजपच्या कोणत्या तरी प्रवक्त्याने त्या प्रेषिताचा अपमान केला. काय संबंध काय तुमचा? संबंध काय? आपल्या देवदेवतांचा अपमान कोणी करायचा नाही, तसंच त्यांच्याही करण्याची तुम्हाला काही गरज नाहीये. पण तो अपमान केल्यानंतर सगळे मिडल ईस्ट अरब देश एकत्र झाले आणि त्यांनी आपल्या देशाला गुडघ्यावरती आणलं, माफी मागायला लावली. पंतप्रधान होय, राजकारणात वेगळं राजकीय मतभेद असतील, मतभिन्नता असतील, नव्हे ती आहे, पण शेवटी माझ्या देशाचे पंतप्रधान आहेत, आपल्या देशाचे पंतप्रधान आहेत. त्यांचा फोटो कचरा कुंडीवरती लावला जातो आणि हे आम्ही नुसतं बघत बसायचं. कोणामुळे ही परिस्थिती आली? भारताने माफी मागायची, आपल्या हिंदुस्थानने माफी मागायची, काय देशाने काय केले?
All right, well, the other big story that we're tracking is the Rajya Sabha election, which is going to be taking place tomorrow. And as we've been reporting, resort politics is back in full force, like how in Rajasthan and Haryana as well as Maharashtra, MLAs have been tucked away safely in resorts and they will be moved back to their respective capital cities to vote.
Right, Rishika, in Maharashtra, all eyes on the special PMLA court verdict. The Enforcement Directorate has challenged Anil Deshmukh's and also Nawab Malik's pleas seeking permission to vote in the Rajya Sabha elections. Our colleagues Harsha and Ghazali are tracking those developments very, very closely. In fact, we have with us Harsha, who's going to take us through the details of Congress MLAs who will be shifted from Udaipur to Jaipur today, Rishika.
The stage is now set for the Rajya Sabha elections, the voting which will happen tomorrow. Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot, who was in Udaipur, returned last evening, and the MLAs, the Congress MLAs, are expected to come back this evening, where they will stay together before voting, which is on Friday morning. Interestingly, Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot spoke to the media there and said that all preparations are complete and we have the support of 126 MLAs. So it does appear that 12 independents have come on board with the Congress, the BTP MLAs, the 2 CPIM MLAs. Congress looking comfortable, but more than anything else, the Congress has to focus on their own party, because remember, the way you vote in a Rajya Sabha election is very, very crucial, and if any votes are dishonored or not discarded by the election commission, then that can prove to be costly. So that's why the Congress still not taking any chances, and all the MLAs are going to stay together till actually they cast their vote, that is on Friday morning.
Right, let's also get an update from Ghazali, who's tracking the details of this story from Haryana. So Ghazali, it's going to be really interesting because the Haryana Congress MLAs who've been tucked away, far away in safe Raipur under the Congress Chhattisgarh government are going to have to be moved back to Chandigarh. They have to vote after all.
So it's not only Congress which is moving its legislators from one location to another. It was yesterday the BJP MLAs were shifted to a resort in Chandigarh. Now, the party says that they all have been invited and moved to a resort in Chandigarh because there they will be given a training for how to vote for the Rajya Sabha elections. And there is a day-long training program, as the party spokespersons are saying, that the BJP MLAs have all been invited to Chandigarh. They will be given a training for how to vote for Rajya Sabha polls. And meanwhile, the Congress legislators who were there in Rajasthan, they are reaching Chandigarh today itself in the evening. So it's going to be an interesting fight for Rajya Sabha polls as well, because a lot is at stake for all the parties in Haryana. It is Mr. Huda, whose leadership skills will be tested if there is any cross-voting from the Congress side. And moreover, BJP-JJP relations will also be tested for this on this Rajya Sabha polls as well, to see if there is any cross-voting from BJP side. Because in the last elections in 2016, when Subhash Chandra, the media baron who won the Rajya Sabha polls from Haryana, it only happened because the Congress MLAs, the ones who voted in that Rajya Sabha polls, their votes were declared invalid. So this is the biggest worry for every party, that if their MLAs cast the vote and that is declared invalid, then the rival candidate will win. So that is exactly why both the parties are now saying that there will be a training for how to vote for the Rajya Sabha polls.
Right, thank you, Ghazali, for joining us with all those details this morning. All eyes on on those, in fact, MLAs coming back home, so to speak. Also, Haryana's Agriculture Minister JP Dalal expressed confidence in winning the Rajya Sabha seats. Let's just listen in.
हमें कोई डर नहीं, डर होता तो हम सारे खुले घूम रहे थे। अभी भी हमारे विधायक हलकों से आ रहे हैं, लेकिन वोट डालने से पहले दिन हमको उनको समझाएं तो कि किसको कहाँ वोट डालना है और क्या प्रक्रिया है।
दो दिन यही रहने वाले हैं?
2 दिन, एक ही दिन है, परसों तो वोट डाल रहे हैं,
तो यहीं से जाएंगे।
कल का दिन है, कल हम यहाँ रहेंगे।
तो वोटिंग करने यहाँ से एक साथ जाएंगे?
ये कोई मुद्दा नहीं है। ये मुद्दा ये है कि सारे विधायकों को वोटिंग प्रक्रिया समझाएं और किस विधायक को, कौन से कैंडिडेट को 31 जो वोट है वो कौन से विधायक देंगे, जो सरप्लस वोट है इंडिपेंडेंट को वो कौन से विधायक देंगे, ये हम अब ये फैसला करेंगे।
All right, well, resort politics in Karnataka as well ahead of the Rajya Sabha polls. My colleague Nihal Kidwai is reporting on how JDS MLAs have been moved to a hotel in Whitefield in Bangalore to prevent poaching. Nihal joins us on the phone line with more. Nihal, what more can you tell us?
What we have come to know that late last night, almost 20 JDS MLAs were moved to a star hotel in Whitefield. And when I spoke to one of the MLAs, he told me that the remaining 12 MLAs would be joining today at any moment. So JDS has taken this step in order to prevent poaching. Even in 2016, when the Rajya Sabha elections were held here, that time 8 JDS MLAs had done cross voting and they had voted in favor of the Congress, and as the result, the JDS official candidate Farooq had lost the election. So again, there is a chance because the JDS candidate Kupendra Reddy needs 12 votes to ensure his victory, because 45 votes are required for victory, and Kupendra Reddy is running short of 13 votes. Now the JDS and now the BJP and the Congress candidates each, they are also running the second and the third candidate of both the parties respectively. They are also running shorts of 12 to 20 votes. So now JDS feels that there may be attempts for poaching, and in order to prevent it, now they have moved some of the MLAs to a star facility here in Bangalore, and the remaining MLAs, means 10 to 12 MLAs, would be joining soon.
All right, so JDS has 32 votes, that's 32 MLAs, and 20 MLAs are in that hotel, and the remaining, like Nihal said, are going to be joining them tomorrow. Very interesting, Divya, that we're reporting on resort politics as it's playing out across different states. We were first reporting on resort politics in 3 states. Now Karnataka, of course, joining the bandwagon. And in Maharashtra, of course, it's extremely interesting because the Mahavikas Aghadi government may be in trouble if Anil Deshmukh and Nawab Malik's pleas, in fact, get rejected by court today, Divya.
Right, Rishika, the Enforcement Directorate has argued that prisoners cannot demand voting rights. Both the leaders are in jail since the 2nd of November in a money laundering case. The case is coming up today at about 11.
Well, absolutely, and we're going to track that story very closely because Uddhav Thackeray is also, remember, hit out at the Enforcement Directorate saying that the officials can essentially target anybody.
But they should instead raid the ones responsible for killing Kashmiri Pandits is what Uddhav Thackeray is saying.
मग कोणाच्या मागे ईडी लाव, कोणाच्या मागे सीबीआय लावा, जरूर लावा. पण इकडे ईडी आणि सीबीआय लावण्यापेक्षा काश्मीरमध्ये जे पंडितांना गोळ्या घालतात त्यांच्या तिकडे त्या धाडी टाका ना, जरा ईडी आणि सीबीआयच्या धाडी तिकडे टाका. हिम्मत असेल तर त्या अधिकाऱ्यांनी तिकडे जाऊन दाखवावं.
And well, let's now shift our focus to the other big story that we're tracking from Mumbai, and an unfortunate news that we're bringing to you this morning. 1 person has died and 16 others have sustained serious injuries following the collapse of a residential building in Shastri Nagar in Mumbai's Bandra West on Wednesday night. The injured have been shifted to a hospital.
Right, 1 person has unfortunately passed away in the G+2 house collapse at Shastri Nagar, declared to be dead on arrival, and our thoughts and prayers are with the family. 60 people were admitted with minor injuries, awaiting reports on others injured. Rescue operation still going on is what the BMC has tweeted.
And while moving on, gangster Lawrence Bishnoi is the mastermind behind the murder of Sidhu Moosewala. This is what the Delhi police has confirmed in a press conference. Lawrence Bishnoi, remember, was the key suspect, Divya, in the killing of Sidhu Moosewala.
Right, but he had not confessed to the crime so far, saying instead that his gang was involved and they had planned and executed the crime. So he had in fact said that he had nothing to do with the killing of the 28-year-old singer.
Well, absolutely. But this is what the Delhi police is saying at the moment, that it is Sidhu Moosewala who is the mastermind. It's a story that we're going to continue to track very closely. We're going to slip into a very short break on Good Morning India. But coming up on the other side, well, Divya, bad news, because for all those people who thought that COVID is over and masks are out, Mumbai has...
rules are changing all over again, Rishika, and this is because of the rise in cases. 1,765 cases in Mumbai in a matter of 24 hours. That and a whole lot more on the other side.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning India, and not so good news. Home, auto and other loan EMIs will rise after the RBI on Wednesday raised its key interest rates by 50 basis points.
That's right, Rishika. The second increase in 5 weeks to rein in a rise in prices that it saw continuing to hurt consumers in the near term. The RBI's high key lending rate from 4.4% to 4.9%. That lending rate the highest since February 2020.
Your loan EMIs are likely to rise, while inflation will continue to hurt till December at least, as the Reserve Bank raised both its interest rate and its inflation forecast. RBI raised its key lending rate by 50 basis points, taking it up to its highest level since February 2020.
Based on an assessment of the macroeconomic situation and the outlook, the MPC voted unanimously to increase the policy repo rate by 50 basis points to 4.90% with immediate effect.
The policy has been a bit more aggressive than what we had expected. But given the fact that the inflationary forecast of the RBI has become a bit more severe for the first 3 quarters, I think now we could expect another 50 to 75 basis points increase in the repo rate.
Interest rate hikes make getting a loan more expensive. The rate at which commercial banks can get money from the central bank has now increased, and banks pass on this hike to us consumers. For example, on 1st of May, before the 2 hikes announced by the RBI, you had to pay a 37,722 rupee EMI on a 50 lakh loan for 20 years at SBI. It went up to 38,915 after RBI raised its interest rate in May, and if the same pattern follows, the EMI could go up to 40,433 rupees. The total interest you had to pay on this loan was 40,53,163 in May, and it could now go up to over 47 lakh. So getting a loan could get 16% more expensive compared to the amount in May, and this will hurt the common people who are already struggling with rising food and fuel prices.
मिक्सी तक फाइनेंस हो रही है, मोबाइल तक फाइनेंस हो रहा है, और जब फाइनेंस का रेट रेपो रेट बढ़ेगा तो इन सारी चीज़ों के फाइनेंसिंग पे असर पड़ेगा, और ये आदमी की एक तरह से इनडायरेक्ट वे में कमर तोड़ने की बात हो रही है।
उससे दिक्कत तो आएगी भाई, हर आदमी लोन लेता है, उसके बगैर काम नहीं चलेगा। वैसे ही कोरोना से आदमी परेशान है।
हर कोई इंसान यही चाहता है कि वो एक व्यवसाय डाले, एक छोटा सा, पर इस रेपो रेट के बढ़ने से क्या होगा कि वो ले नहीं पाएगा अच्छे से, या फिर वो संकोच करेगा लेने में, और उससे वो आत्मनिर्भर तो मुश्किल ही बन पाएगा।
And the trouble for the common man does not end here. The hole in your pocket could get deeper as inflation is expected to remain above RBI's tolerance level.
Inflation is now projected at 6.7% in 2022-23, that is the current year, with Q1 at 7.5%, Q2 at 7.4%, Q3 at 6.2%, and Q4 at 5.8%, with risks evenly balanced.
Markets reacted to the sharp rate hike by trading in the red. Sensex lost 214 points to end at 54,892, while Nifty went down by 60 points to settle at 16,356. Till May, more than 40 central banks across the globe raised interest rates or scaled back liquidity. While rate hikes are a common tool for central banks to control inflation, they hurt the demand in the economy, causing fears of an economic slump. Despite a steep price rise and interest rate hikes, the Reserve Bank is positive about India's economic growth, retaining its GDP forecast for the current year at 7.2%. But inflation coupled with fears of a slow economic growth is leading to stagflation risks across countries. But for now, the Reserve Bank of India has clearly prioritized targeting inflation, which is at an 8-year high. Sharma for NDTV.
And well, it's time to get your COVID update in the country. It's Mumbai, where about 1,765 new cases have been reported in a matter of 24 hours. That's a 42% increase from the previous day's count. The infection count is the highest, in fact, Rishika, since the 25th of January.
Well, absolutely. This is the first time since the 2nd of February that Mumbai has reported cases in 4 digits for 2 consecutive days. The COVID positivity rate has risen to 9%. Last week, Mumbai's health authorities told officials to immediately increase testing on a war footing.
And with that, we're slipping a very short break. On the other side, we'll get you US warning over the Chinese activity near Ladakh. That and a whole lot more on the other side. Welcome back. Top US General Charles Flynn warns of alarming level of Chinese activity near Ladakh, especially the amount of infrastructure that's being built. General Flynn described it as destabilizing and corrosive behavior by China as he talked about the Chinese infrastructure building up across the Himalayan frontier, Rishika.
Well, absolutely. And when asked about Chinese military expansion near the Ladakh region, the US General says one has to ask the question why.
Well, this is the top U.S. Army general looking after the Asia-Pacific theater, and what he says about China is important because it's something that he observes very closely, and the language which he used is actually fairly significant. He said that Chinese activity near Ladakh was, to use his own words, eye-opening. He also said that infrastructure being created by China was in fact alarming. So fairly strong words being used there by the American general. He also said that the Chinese were following what he said was an incremental and insidious path in terms of whatever their goals were in this region, which resulted in destabilizing and corrosive behavior. Chinese behavior was destabilizing and corrosive, and the question that really needed to be asked was, why is China doing this? That's a big question that remains unanswered. Therefore, it's something which we've known for a while here in India about China's infrastructure build-up. This comes from a very close ally who also says that it's time we must work together to be a counterweight to what China has been doing in Asia.
Well, we'll track the details of that story very closely, but let's now shift our focus to the other big story. It is summer holiday season, after all, Divya, isn't it? With countries across the globe now lifting COVID-19 restrictions, international travel from India is seeing its revival. However, the holiday season has led to a massive number of visa applications, and embassies are struggling to meet the demand.
Absolutely, Rishika. Unlike you and I who are stuck here at work and don't have a holiday to get to, but thousands of travelers are facing the hassle of waiting endlessly for their visa and fearing financial losses on their flight tickets and hotel bookings. Here is a report.
33-year-old Prayash Giria was looking forward to his trip to Greece along with his 3 cousins. But with just 2 weeks left for his flight, the visa is nowhere in sight. Prayash says he submitted his documents more than a month ago. On the WhatsApp group that Greece visa applicants have formed after finding each other through social media, over 160 members have similar complaints. With proper resumption of travel after 2 years of the pandemic, many who planned an international holiday this summer are facing the nightmare of not getting a visa on time.
तो ऐसा एक्सपीरियंस मेरा पहले कभी नहीं हुआ है। मैं 12 साल से इंटरनेशनली घूम रहा हूँ, जैसे यूके, फ्रांस, सिंगापुर, इन सब के वीज़ाज़ मेरे को 4 से 5 दिन के अंदर पहले मिल चुके हैं। पर ये पहली बार हो रहा है कि 1 महीना वेट करने के बावजूद भी मुझे नहीं पता पड़ पा रहा कि मैं वीज़ा कब आएगा, मिलेगा भी कि नहीं मिलेगा। और डर इस बात का है कि मैंने ऑलरेडी 1.5 लाख तक का अमाउंट खर्चा कर दिया है फ़्लाइट टिकट्स पे, होटल की बुकिंग्स पे, लोकल ट्रांसपोर्ट, मेडिकल इंश्योरेंस, जो भी वीज़ा के लिए नेसेसरी चीज़ें हैं उनके लिए। और अगर वीज़ा टाइम से नहीं आ पाया तो इनको रीशेड्यूल करने में या कैंसिल करने में बहुत पेनल्टीज़ लग सकती हैं, बहुत एक्स्ट्रा अमाउंट देना पड़ सकता है।
Embassies are reeling under the pressure of a major backlog of applications. The Embassy of Greece recently notified that it is adding more staff members to deal with the surge. While the British High Commission website says visitor visa applications may take 6 weeks to process, it is 129 days or over 4 months for Canada. Embassy of Denmark has temporarily suspended all visa applications due to a shortage of staff and an unforeseen increase in the number of applications. US Embassy recently announced resumption of in-person visa appointments from September, and slots are completely booked till April 2023 in cities like Delhi and Mumbai. Travel companies say they are dealing with a large number of anxious customers. The Travel Agents Association of India has now written to the External Affairs Minister seeking his intervention and a government-to-government dialogue over delay in Schengen and US visas.
It's a demand and supply. It's a lot of pent-up demand. People have already traveled to the neighboring countries, like they've already visited Dubai, they've already visited Maldives. So now it has to go further. So the Schengen countries have to face the brunt of the entire population moving that side, and embassies have not been able to cope up with the entire structure of visas. So they're also short of staff to cover the entire aspect immediately.
After a period of 2 years, travel enthusiasts were finally looking forward to reach their dream destinations. But it may take the next few months for the visa process to normalize once the holiday season is over. In New Delhi with camera person Sushil Rathi, this is Sukirti Dwivedi for NDTV. As India tackles a massive international blowback from the BJP leader's comment on Prophet Muhammad, NDTV's Nidhi Razdan spoke with veteran actor Nasiruddin Shah. Listen in.
I just wanted your first thoughts on this controversy that's erupted over the last few days. It's ironic that it took despotic Arab countries for the BJP to act and not the voices of its own citizens.
Yeah. What the Indian government did was too little, too late. It was a week before they even opened their mouths and said anything condemning these kind of statements. These kind of statements in a country like Pakistan or Bangladesh or Afghanistan, which we hope to include in Akhand Bharat someday, would result in a death sentence, quite simply, because it would be considered blasphemous. Here, there was not a sound from the top, and absolutely no acknowledgement of the hurt caused to millions of believers. I don't think that there has ever, and I hear this lady who was dismissed from the BJP, she's not a fringe element as they claim. She's the national spokesman. So it's not possible that what she said was not approved from the top. And she says, I've heard so many derogatory remarks about Hindu gods. I would challenge her to show me one video clipping or one recording of a Muslim derogating the Lord Ram or the Lord Krishna. Krishna, in fact, was a butt of jokes even among the Hindus until this whole thin-skinned thing took over. But I don't think there has ever been an incident where a Muslim made such an inflammatory statement about a Hindu deity. It's telling, and I wish that the hate mongers whom the PM seems to follow on Twitter, that he does something to silence them, because only his voice is going to do it.
The Prime Minister's voice.
The Prime Minister's voice. I think that this is the time when he needs to step in if he really wants to stop this poison from spreading.
Pseudo-patriotic. Well, can I ask you though, that when you said that only the Prime Minister can shut down what is happening if he speaks up. What is your appeal to him? What would you want, what would you appeal to him to say? And do you think he would?
I would appeal to him to say what his heart bids him to do. I would appeal to him to knock some good sense into these people. If what he believes is what was said at the Dharam Sansad in Rishikesh, then he should say so. And if he does not, he should say so.
And moving on to Ukraine, more than 100 days into the war in Ukraine and with no sign of either side being willing to end the hostilities. There's just no evidence. Through the latest satellite images are also we're seeing of nearly continuous and relentless bombardment that continues, Rishika.
Well, absolutely. Artillery shelling of villages and cities, especially in the eastern Ukraine region, continues. The Russian forces are attempting to gain control of Luhansk and Donetsk.
That's the map. Let's have it up full frame before we go to the satellite images. So the areas that you're going to see very shortly, Severodvinsk, Rubizhna, Slovyansk and Dovhenka in the east of Ukraine. These are all areas that are marked in the map. That's where a lot of the fighting is happening. Now the first image that you're going to see is from the very critical frontline city of Severodvinsk. What you see are damaged buildings and artillery shelling in downtown Severodvinsk near the landmark Chemist's Palace of Culture. What you will now see are in fact close-ups of the same area, buildings with holes in their roofs and widespread destruction, as you can see over there. In another part of Severodvinsk, the area right next to a hospital has been targeted, and you can see that very clearly in this image. The Red Cross, clearly that you can see on the top right hand side of your screen, marks the presence of the hospital. Let's now bring you images from the city of Rubizhna, which has been almost completely flattened. And we'll show you before and after images. This is a large part of the town completely destroyed. The image is from day before yesterday. So what was it earlier? So this is the same area in the month of March. And as you can see, entirely intact. So let's contrast the two images. This is the destruction of 2 days back. This is what it was in the month of March. One more time. This is the image dated 2 days back. And this is the image from March. Huge difference there. Well, what you will now see is a massive bomb crater and recent shelling with destroyed buildings in the nearby area of Dovhenka. Now, the massive bomb crater you see is 40 meters in diameter. And finally, a clear sign of the relentless artillery shelling in this region, fields peppered with hundreds of artillery craters. Those little dots that you see on your screen are of artillery shells having landed.
Well, our top focus story, the cyber unit of the Delhi Police Special Cell has registered an FIR in cases related to objectionable religious remarks. And what's really interesting here, Priyanshi, is that it's not just the likes of Nupur Sharma, Naveen, Jindal who made the headlines lately, but others as well, including Saba Naqvi, the Hindu Mahasabha office bearer, Pooja Shakun Pandey, Maulana Mufti Nadeem from Rajasthan, and the Peace Party chief spokesperson Shadab Chauhan.
And in fact, a case has been registered over indecent remarks that have been made against different religions and also over social media posts that were put out to allegedly spoil the harmony.
And well, Akshay Dongre joins us with the very latest. Akshay, do we have any more clarity on who's filed this FIR? Has the Delhi police taken suo motu cognizance? And what really are the charges against these individuals?
Well, the charges are clear. The charges are of spreading religious enmity, promoting religious enmity, spreading hate on social media. So various IPC sections are applicable as far as the charges against these people are concerned. However, the official FIR has not been revealed by the Delhi police. In fact, the entire case is being dealt with in a very hush-hush manner. So this case is being dealt by the special cell of Delhi police. In fact, there is a particular unit which is called Intelligence Fusion and Strategic Operation, also called IFSO. unit of the Special Cell of Delhi Police, and that has in fact filed an FIR against these 9 people, which also include the 2 former spokesperson of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Nupur Sharma and Naveen Jindal. But among other people, as we have mentioned, are journalist Sabha Naqvi, Hindu Mahasabha office bearer Pooja Shakun Pandey, and others as well, including the Peace Party spokesperson Shadab Chauhan. The entire question over this FIR that has been filed is that whether this is some sort of a balancing act that the Delhi police is trying to do here, because we have seen that it has been over 10 days that Nupur Sharma had made those comments on live television, and Naveen Jindal had tweeted those objectionable remarks on the social media. So there was no backlash, there was no police complaints that were filed, but as soon as there was backlash in the Arab countries, the government has come into action, has suspended these 2 party members and called them fringe elements as far as the world stage is concerned. We are receiving a lot of flack as far as these comments are concerned, especially from some of our closest business partners like UAE, Saudi Arabia and Iran as well. So this sort of FIR that is being filed now can also be in a way government of India or the government of India's message that it is trying to send to the world scenario that now see we have filed an FIR, we have suspended these people from our party. So some sort of an action is being taken here by the government as far as those hateful comments are concerned. But others being named in the same FIR clearly seems like a balancing act here that is being done by the police, and the police in fact has, while not revealed that whether this is suo motu cognizance that police has taken, but there have been certain people who in fact have filed complaints against people like Nupur Sharma, including Saket Gokhale, who is an RTI activist, who in fact tweeted yesterday that he went to the Chanakyapuri police station to file an FIR. However, he also alleged that the SHO refused to receive complaints, claiming that there are orders from above, and now finally an FIR has been filed. Right. So some sort of clarity is required that why exactly the police has taken so much time to file an FIR, if these sections were relevant in the action that has been taken by these people, and why exactly the FIR has been filed now, whether the police has in fact monitored, made a timeline, or this action has been prompted because of the international backlash that we are receiving right now.
Right, thanks for joining us with those details. And Rishika, Uddhav Thackeray was in fact the latest to hit out at the BJP over its former spokesperson's comments on the Prophet Muhammad. He said the country had to kneel in front of countries in the Middle East because of BJP's mistakes.
Well, absolutely. He called it an international embarrassment. He even went on to question Mohan Bhagwat, saying, is this the ruling, is this what you expected from the ruling dispensation? Listen in.
पण आज एका भाजपच्या कोणत्या तरी प्रवक्त्याने त्या प्रेषिताचा अपमान केला. काय संबंध काय तुमचा? संबंध काय? आपल्या देवदेवतांचा अपमान कोणी करायचा नाही, तसंच त्यांच्याही करण्याची तुम्हाला काही गरज नाहीये. पण तो अपमान केल्यानंतर सगळे मिडल ईस्ट अरब देश एकत्र झाले आणि त्यांनी आपल्या देशाला गुडघ्यावरती आणलं. माफी मागायला लावली. पंतप्रधान होय, राजकारणात वेगळं, राजकीय मतभेद असतील, मतभिन्नता असतील, नव्हे ती आहे, पण शेवटी माझ्या देशाचे पंतप्रधान आहेत, आपल्या देशाचे पंतप्रधान आहेत, त्यांचा फोटो कचरा कुंडीवरती लावला जातो आणि हे आम्ही नुसतं बघत बसायचं. कोणामुळे परिस्थिती आली? भारताने माफी मागायची, आपल्या हिंदुस्थानने माफी मागायची, काय देशाने काय केले?
Breaking news that is coming in. Over 7,000 new coronavirus cases have been reported in just the last 24 hours. Priyanshi, this is horrific. A 40% jump in 24 hours. For all those of us who'd let the guard down, I think it's a wake-up call most certainly. Let's go right across to my colleague Parimal, who's tracking the details of this story. Parimal, a 40% jump in COVID-19 cases in just 24 hours. 7,000 से ज्यादा नए केसेस आए हैं पिछले 24 घंटे में.
निश्चित तौर पे एक चीज और यहाँ पे समझना जरूरी है और दर्शकों को बताना भी जरूरी है ऋषिका कि कोविड कभी खत्म नहीं होने वाली बीमारी है. एक बार जब बीमारी इंडिया में आ गई है या कहीं भी आ गई किसी भी देश में, तो बीमारी जड़ से खत्म नहीं होगी. यानी ऐसा कभी नहीं होगा जब 0 केसेस रिपोर्ट होंगे. केसेस की संख्या कम हो सकती है. ये एक्सपर्ट से बार बार हमने पूछा और शुरुआती समय में भी यही जानकारी मिलती थी कि एक बार जब इस तरह के मामले आ जाते हैं तो इम्यूनिटी आपके अंदर होनी चाहिए, जो वैक्सीन और बाकी प्रिकॉशन की बात कही जाती है. लेकिन हमें ये भी याद रखना चाहिए कि तमाम वो राज्य हैं जिनको चिट्ठी लिखी गई है, तमिलनाडु, केरल, तेलंगाना, कर्नाटक, महाराष्ट्र, करीब 4-5 दिन पहले केंद्रीय स्वास्थ्य सचिव राजेश भूषण ने चिट्ठी लिखी थी। कोई नया मैकेनिज्म नहीं है इस वायरस को डील करने के लिए, जो पुराने समय से एक प्रैक्टिस है जिसको लेकर हमने कंटेनमेंट जोन की बात की हो, हमने केसेस को ट्रैक करने की बात की हो, हमने वैक्सीनेशन बढ़ाने की बात की हो, वही मैकेनिज्म है। लेकिन अगर थोड़ी सी लापरवाही होती है, क्योंकि मामले हमने देखा कि लगातार गिरने शुरू हो गए थे और बहुत कम मामले रिपोर्ट हो रहे थे, 2000 के आसपास, 2200 के आसपास मामले रिपोर्ट हो रहे थे। ऐसे में सरकार भी ये कोशिश करती रही है राज्यों के साथ मिलकर कि कोई कोताही ना बरती जाए। लोग भी जो मास्क का प्रोटोकॉल है या हाथ धोने का प्रोटोकॉल है या भीड़ भाड़ से थोड़ा सा आप दूरी बना के रखिए, ये तमाम चीजें कही गई है। लेकिन जैसे ही मामले कम होते हैं तो थोड़ी सी शिथिलता जरूर आ जाती है, थोड़ा सा अप्रोच बहुत एक्टिव नहीं रह पाता है। तो इसी संबंध में राज्यों को चिट्ठी लिखी गई थी और जो पुराना मैकेनिज्म है कंटेनमेंट को लेकर या सर्वेलेंस को लेकर, जिसमें हमने बात की थी कि ILI के पेशेंट हो या सारी के मरीज हो, सीवियर एक्यूट रेस्पिरेटरी के जो मरीज हैं, उनको भी उनकी भी टेस्टिंग प्रॉपर तरीके से की जाए जो हॉस्पिटलाइज है। तो ये तमाम चीजें की जा रही हैं, लेकिन ये नंबर एक बार जो बढ़ने शुरू हुए हैं। और एक चीज और बता दें आपको, दर्शकों को समझना और लोगों को समझना भी जरूरी है कि कब हम मानते हैं कि कोई चौथा वेव या कोई वेव आता है, जब लगातार 15 दिनों तक मामला बढ़ता रहे कंटिन्यूअसली, लगातार 15 दिनों तक, तब जो एपिडेमियोलॉजिस्ट हैं उनका मानना है कि अगला वेव आता है। तो ये लगातार मामले भी फिलहाल बढ़ रहे हैं 2 दिनों से, लेकिन अब देखना होगा ये मामला कहाँ जाकर रुकता है।
All right. Well, it is worrying news. Thanks very much, Parimal, for joining us. Premature, Priyanshi, at this stage to call it the onset of a fourth wave. Right. But worrying numbers indeed with that 40% spike. A stark reminder there for all that if you haven't gone out and got your booster dose yet, check your eligibility on the CoWIN app and protect yourself in whatever way is possible.
And in fact, Rishika, this is the highest number of COVID cases we've seen since February end. So ever since the Omicron wave came down by February, late Jan, this is the highest cases we've seen since the month of February. So it is definitely a reminder to get back your masks on. And in fact, as Parimal said, in the month of May, we saw around 2,000 to 3,000 cases. So these cases are actually more than double of that we're seeing today. So definitely a cause of concern, but we'll keep tracking to see whether this could actually be the start of the fourth wave.
Right, let's now shift gears to politics, and as we count down to the Rajya Sabha election tomorrow, it's going to be extremely interesting to see how that crucial vote plays out for the upper house. Priyanshi, it's going to be a fascinating election to watch out for. Resort politics is back in the headlines across 4 states now. Karnataka too, latest to join the bandwagon, with JDS moving its MLAs to a hotel in Whitefield. We already know that in Rajasthan, in Haryana and Maharashtra, MLAs have been tucked away in resorts and they have to eventually be moved back to their respective capital cities to vote.
Right. MLAs have been getting hotel stays for quite some days, Rishika. And in fact, in Maharashtra, all eyes are on this special PMLA court verdict. The Enforcement Directorate has challenged Anil Deshmukh's and Nawab Malik's plea, seeking permission to vote in the Rajya Sabha elections. So all eyes on that verdict that will come out soon. We'll keep tracking that because it's important for tomorrow's Rajya Sabha polls, important for the Maharashtra polls that are coming up tomorrow.
Well, every vote, every single MLA and every vote really, is what counts. Let's go right across. We have Harsha Kumari Singh, Mohammad Ghazali, Nihal and Sohit all joining us on the broadcast this morning to bring us the very latest. Harsha, to you first. MLAs, have been cooped up in resorts from all kinds of exercises and games. It's all going to come to a close. They have to come back to the city to vote.
Yes, and even there, the Congress is not going to take any chances. So they're not going to be allowed to come in their own vehicles or by road. In fact, when they were taken to the resort in Udaipur, they all went by bus, and some of them were allowed to reach there on their own. But now that the entire flock is together, the Congress is planning to bring them by a special plane this evening back to Jaipur, where they're again going to be kept together and then taken to the Rajya Sabha election to vote. But now it's really in Rajasthan, it's not so much the Congress's own MLAs that are a problem, because there will be a party observer. They'll have to show their vote before they cast it. But the others, the independents, of course, 12 independents have come on board with the Congress. The CPIM is supporting them. But the BTP MLAs met, the Bharatiya Tribal Party MLAs met Chief Minister Ashok Gehlot apparently promised support, but now there's talk that a whip has been issued by their party saying they should abstain. So really till they actually go on the floor of the House and actually vote, this game really could go any which way, and it's got everybody on tenterhooks as far as the Rajya Sabha election and voting is concerned.
Right, as Harsha said, this game could go any which ways. And let's also get an update from Haryana. Ghazali is joining us from there. And Ghazali, after Congress took its MLAs to a resort in Raipur, now the BJP coalition government in Haryana has also summoned all its MLAs to a spa resort located on the outskirts of Chandigarh. The coalition has also asked 6 independent MLAs to join them at the resort. What is the latest you can share with us?
See, both BJP and Congress have sufficient number of MLAs to get their Rajya Sabha seats. BJP needs 31 seats to win one Rajya Sabha election, one Rajya Sabha seats. So they have 31 MLAs. They can comfortably win the Rajya Sabha seat for themselves. As far as Congress is concerned, they need 30 seats. They have 31 MLAs, but they fear the cross-voting which happened last time during 2016 when Subhash Chandra won from Haryana in the Rajya Sabha.
All right, Ghazali, sorry to have interrupted you there, but we seem to be having some audio trouble. We'll try and fix that. But like Priyanshi and I have been speaking, this is not just a story restricted to Rajasthan or Haryana. Karnataka is in fact the latest to join the list of states with resort politics happening there. Let's go right across to Nehal. Nehal, JDS has moved all of its MLAs to Whitefield. What more can you tell us?
JDS is a little more concerned this time as well, because in 2016 during the Rajya Sabha polls, 8 JDS MLAs had indulged into cross-voting, and this had led to the defeat of JDS official candidate M. Farooq, and the Congress got benefited because of this cross-voting. So this time they don't want to take any chance. That's why they have moved most of their JDS has moved most of its MLAs to a 5-star facility here in Bangalore. And when I spoke to one of the MLAs who are there, he told me that around 20 MLAs are there. Remaining 12 MLAs would be joining soon today. They all have been asked to stay there, and tomorrow, once the a little before the voting, they would move from there to Karnataka Vidhan Sabha. Last time when 8 JDS MLAs had changed their side and they had voted for the Congress, those 8 MLAs were later expelled from the party and they had later joined the Congress party. This time, because the BJP and the Congress both have come out with one extra candidate, like the BJP had sufficient number of votes to ensure the victory of 2 seats. But now they have introduced Lahar Singh also, and he's running short of 13 votes. Congress has sufficient votes for to ensure victory of 1 candidate, but they have brought Mansoor Ali Khan, who is the son of Rahman Khan. So that is why, and he's running short of 20 votes. That is why, in order to prevent poaching, the JDS has moved its MLAs from their respective houses to a 5-star facility, because this time they don't want to take any chance at all.
All right, well, the JDS, they're leaving nothing to chance. Nehal Kidwai, thanks very much for joining us with the very latest. We'll, of course, keep coming back to you for more updates. Meanwhile, in Maharashtra, it is the Mahavikas Aghadi government that may be in trouble. Priyanshi, if Anil Deshmukh and Nawab Malik's plea get rejected in court, we'll know more in just a few hours.
Right, this is a crucial case. As we said, every vote counts, so the Mahavikas Aghadi might be in trouble. The Enforcement Directorate has argued that prisoners cannot demand voting rights, and both the leaders are in jail since the 2nd of November in money laundering cases. Sohit has the latest on this. Sohit, the case is coming up at 11 a.m. and it's a crucial case for the Mahavikas Aghadi. What can you tell us about what's expected? How's the situation on ground right now?
That's right. In fact, the special court has reserved the order till Thursday, and it's the order is on the bail pleas of the former Home Minister of Maharashtra, Anil Deshmukh, as well as State Minister Nawab Malik. Both of them have been seeking one-day relief to cast their votes in the Rajya Sabha elections that will be happening on Friday, that is 10th of June. Now, this becomes important because we know that there is a close fight between the BJP as well as Shiv Sena, and each vote counts. In fact, yesterday, Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray also met with Samajwadi Party leader Abu Azmi and asked for him to vote in favor of Mahavikas Aghadi government. So what we can say is that since each vote counts, it would be important to see that what happens, because these are two crucial votes that the NCP has with them. And they have also calculated these two votes if they want to win the fourth seat, for which we have been seeing Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray fighting directly and treating it as a personal contest with Devendra Fadnavis, the former Chief Minister of Maharashtra, as well as BJP leader. In fact, the resort politics has begun in Maharashtra as well, be it the leaders of Shiv Sena, Congress, NCP or BJP. Everyone has shifted their leaders to separate hotels, and they'll be staying there till tomorrow when the elections are going to happen. So this is the case in Maharashtra as well, and what happens at 11 a.m. would be very important, because based on that, the strategy of the Mahavikas Aghadi government, especially the NCP and the Shiv Sena, will be decided, and even BJP is keeping a close eye on this, because this will also impact what they have been planning for the election. Remember that for the 6th seat, both the BJP or the Shiv Sena need 42 votes, and as of now, BJP has 29 and the Mahavikas Aghadi Alliance has 27. Both of them are dependent on independent as well as MLAs from the smaller parties. And if the court, rejects these application made by Nawab Malik and Anil Deshmukh, the Mahavikas Aghadi government would have 25 votes and they need 17 more votes.
Thanks, Sohit. We'll keep coming back to you for more updates as we're reporting that crucial hearing in the PMLA court is going to take place at 11 a.m. Now, Maharashtra Chief Minister Uddhav Thackeray is hit out at the Enforcement Directorate, saying that the ED can essentially target just about anybody.
Right, and he said, but they should instead raid ones responsible for killing Kashmiri Pandits. Let's listen in.
कोणाच्या मागे ईडी लाव, कोणाच्या मागे सीबीआय लावा, जरूर लावा. पण इकडे ईडी आणि सीबीआय लावण्यापेक्षा काश्मीरमध्ये जे पंडितांना गोळ्या घालतात त्यांच्या तिकडे त्या धाडी टाका ना, जरा ईडी आणि सीबीआयच्या धाडी तिकडे टाका. हिम्मत असेल तर त्या अधिकाऱ्यांनी तिकडे जाऊन दाखवावं.
With that, we're slipping into a very short break.
But coming up, a viral and a rather distressing video of parents begging to collect money to get their son's body released. Stay with us.
Welcome back. You're watching Good Morning India, and terrible news that we're reporting from Mumbai. One person has died and 16 others have sustained injuries following the collapse of a residential building at the Shastri Nagar area in West Bandra. This is an incident that happened on Wednesday night. The injured, we're told, have been shifted to a hospital.
According to the Bombay Civic Body, at least 3 to 4 people were initially suspected to be trapped in the debris while the rescue operations were underway.
All right, and well, news that is just coming in. There's been a massive fire that's broken out at a temple in Madurai. These are pictures reportedly from last night from the Mariamam temple in Madurai.
Right, as you can see the fire in those visuals on your screen. But Rishika, for now, no casualties have been reported yet. But the rescue operations are still underway in this fire that has broken out in the Mariamam temple pandal in Madurai. So, as you can see, the fire on the roof and the roof practically falling out. But no casualties reported for now. But the rescue operations still underway is what we know for now.
Well, presumably this is a fire that broke out last evening. We'll continue to access more details. All right, well, moving on to other disturbing news that we're tracking from Bihar. A viral video from Bihar shows an elderly couple out on the streets begging for money to get their son's body released from a government hospital. A Samastipur hospital employee allegedly asked the couple for 50,000 rupees just to release their son's body.
Truly a disturbing incident there, Rishika. And the hospital administration has claimed that there was some miscommunication in the matter. So they've clarified, and they said that they will take a strict action against this. Welcome back. Well, India recorded more than 7,000 new COVID cases in the last 24 hours, which is a jump of nearly 40% and the highest cases we've seen since February end. Cases are on the rise across the country, Rishika.
Well, absolutely, and particularly in Maharashtra, which continues to be the worst hit. Dr. Subhash Salunke, a member of the National COVID Task Force and an advisor to the Maharashtra government on COVID-19, now joins us for a perspective. Dr. Salunke, sharp rise in infections in the last 24 hours, but the truth is there's been a steady increase in cases that we've been seeing in the past few weeks. Maharashtra continues to be the worst hit with a positivity rate of above 9%. Is this some kind of a new worrying variant? What more can you tell us about this latest spike?
I personally feel that this development is neither shocking nor very surprising. The situation that is getting evolved in the country and particularly in the state of Maharashtra, and if you look at the Maharashtra situation also, you will find majority of the, for example, whatever around 10,000 new cases, 10,000 cases which are active cases in Maharashtra, majority of them are located in Mumbai, Thane and Pune area. And this is something which is now well known to us, that in spite of the fact that this virus circulation is taking place, and virus is a very dynamic virus, it is undergoing changes because it wants to retain itself. If it is totally eliminated, then there will be no further propagation. And from that perspective, newer variants are coming, whether it's a BA212 or BA214. These variants are going to be there and further variants are bound to come. So what we are seeing now, this variant which is now circulating or now infecting people in the state like Maharashtra, also in Delhi and other places, is not very surprising. However, it is certainly worrying that the new variants which are coming up are infective. They are causing infection.
Right.
But only, or rather a major positive point in this respect is these are comparatively mild cases. Infectivity is high. However, pathogenicity and virulence is definitely low. There are no substantial or significant increase in the hospitalization and definitely no ICU admission and no increase in the deaths. So these balancing points we have to keep in mind, that on one hand infections are taking place, on other hand these are milder and doesn't require to be worried from that perspective. So I think we'll have to take into consideration that we are living with the virus. The one major issue that we have ignored as a society, and both whether it's in Delhi or Mumbai or throughout India, and that is we are forgetting that the use of mask or basic principles of prevention of transmission of respiratory disease, including the present pandemic, is the use of mask, which is the critical one. And we are feeling as if we have nothing to do with that. And that seems to be a worrying point from my perspective. If you ask me, only 2 points. One, people are intending or feeling that there is no need to use the mask. That needs to be changed. Right. And number 2, in spite of the vaccination, in spite of the fact that nearly 85% or 80% of us are vaccinated fully and 90% of us are infected, still this immunity doesn't last long. It's not lifelong immunity. You are vulnerable. Please note, whether you got infected 3 times, 4 times, doesn't make a difference. Whether you got full 3 doses will make comparatively less difference. So ensure that you must get fully vaccinated. Still protect yourself, particularly for those who are in my category. That means senior citizens who have comorbidities. I will certainly not like to go to a restaurant or a cinema theater without wearing mask, where there is no proper air circulation, there is air conditioning. Why do you want to go there? Avoid. Note one thing, you are going to live with the virus for next many months. No escape.
Right.
And you need to protect yourself and you need to protect society. So you need to follow basic mandates of prevention of COVID, which is only two things basically: immunization, vaccination, and to use mask whenever you are going to go outside. If you have to go, if you can avoid it, nah.
Right, of course, a reminder to get our precautions back up. But also, Dr. Salunke, a question on everybody's mind is whether this could be the start of the fourth wave. Even though the symptoms are mild, could you see a fourth wave beginning in terms of the number of cases that we're seeing?
I personally feel if you were to consider fourth wave, what is the definition of the fourth wave? There is no standard definition. Outbreaks, localized outbreaks of this nature, for example, in say city of Mumbai or Thane or in Delhi. So local outbreaks are going to occur. You can't prevent them because, sizable number of vulnerable population, when it accumulates in a given area, geographical area, which is mainly urbanized areas, you are bound to, and the virus is there. See, basically there are
Dr.
three
Salunke,
things.
just as a very last question, one also wonders at the moment on whether this is indeed a wake-up call. Whether or not this is the onset of the fourth wave, we'll know in the days to come. But is this a wake-up call for the government as an advisor? Would you advise that the government should perhaps reconsider reducing the gap between the second dose and the booster shot? Remember, it's still a 9-month gap. Do you think that needs to be considered?
100%. You fully, whatever you have stated, we have strongly recommended that we have to reconsider this particular gap. We have to, bring down this particular period. And at the same time, the statement you made about the wake-up call, yes, it is not only a wake-up call for the government, but wake-up call for the citizens. It is not government alone is going to be held responsible every time. Why should you? Why is it not your responsibility too? Why don't you follow basic precautions?
No, while of course people need to go back to masking, people at least who are eligible to get a booster need to ensure that they do go out and get the booster. A lot of people, who are sort of back to work and would like to get the booster still not eligible because of that long gap. So you're saying you're recommending to the government
yes,
that
I'm
gap should be
recommending
reduced.
To the government
well, and one sincerely hopes that, what you're saying is in fact something that the government pays heed to. Thanks very much, Doctor, for joining us this morning.
You're welcome. Thank you.
And moving on, as India tackles a massive international blowback from, the BJP leader's comment on Prophet Muhammad, the veteran actor Nasiruddin Shah said that Prime Minister Modi should step in and stop the poison.
He spoke to NDTV's Nidhi Razdan in an exclusive conversation where he made these comments. In fact, let's listen in.
I just wanted your first thoughts on this controversy that's erupted over the last few days. It's ironic that it took despotic Arab countries for the BJP to act and not the voices of its own citizens.
Yeah. What the Indian government did was too little, too late. It was a week before they even opened their mouths and said anything condemning these kind of statements. These kind of statements in a country like Pakistan or Bangladesh or Afghanistan, which we hope to include in Akhand Bharat someday, would result in a death sentence, quite simply, because it would be considered blasphemous. Here, there was not a sound from the top, and absolutely no acknowledgement of the hurt caused to millions of believers. I don't think that there has ever, and I hear this lady, who was dismissed from the BJP, she is not a fringe element as they claim. She is the national spokesman. So it's not possible that what she said was not approved from the top. And she says, I've heard so many derogatory remarks about Hindu gods. I would challenge her to show me one video clipping or one recording of a Muslim derogating the Lord Ram or the Lord Krishna. Krishna, in fact, was a butt of jokes even among the Hindus until this whole thin-skinned thing took over. But I don't think there has ever been an incident where a Muslim made such an inflammatory statement about a Hindu deity. It's telling. And I wish that the the hate mongers whom the PM seems to follow on Twitter, that he does something to silence them, because only his voice is going to do it.
You mean the Prime Minister's voice?
The Prime Minister's voice. I think that this is the time when he needs to step in if he really wants to stop this poison from spreading.
Pseudo-patriotic. Well, can I ask you though, that when you said that, only the Prime Minister can shut down what is happening if he speaks up, what is your appeal to him? What would you want, what would you appeal to him to say? And do you think he would?
I would appeal to him to say what his heart bids him to do. I would appeal to him to knock some good sense into these people. If what he believes is what was said at the Dharam Sansad in Rishikesh, then he should say so. And if he does not, he should say so.
And Rishika, now let's look at an interesting story of making electricity as the music plays. Well, not exactly, but find out how Prithvi Mangiri's drum set led him to create surplus electricity.
Well, he is the Lottoland Aaj Ka Sitara, and Lottoland will support his cause with a cash incentive of 1 lakh rupees.
You can make great music with drums. But if you're practicing at home, there is every chance that your neighbors may disagree. And it could even lead to a police complaint.
मेरा रेंटर ऊपर में था ना, तो उसका छोटा बच्चा था ना, तो उसके वजह से उसको थोड़ा प्रॉब्लम था, तो मना करने से मना हो गया.
When the neighbors' daily complaints started getting in the way of Prithvi Mangiri's music practice, he and his grandfather decided to soundproof the music room. It brought an end to the neighbors' complaints for sure, but it was the start of massive electricity bills. The lights and the air conditioning required drove up the bills from 1,000 to 7,000 rupees per month. And that is when Prithvi's grandfather hit upon a brainwave.
Grandfather ने idea दिया कि solar panels वो अभी आया है नया वाला. This is 3 years back. So he thought, and then we sat and discussed about the idea, and then we put. It's a great plan. So we expanded, and as you can see, there are 15 panels which we have put. So basically, we generate 5 kilowatt power from this solar panel. So what happens is we consume about 2.3 kilowatt तक हम कंज्यूम करते हैं घर में स्टूडियो के लिए और डेली यूटेंसिल्स और व्हाटएवर वी यूज़ डेली अप्लायंसेस टू बी एग्जैक्ट. सो उसके बाद हम 1.5 और 2 किलोवाट तक हम वो ज़्यादा पावर रहता है ना, वो हम बेस्कॉम से इधर नियरेस्ट ट्रांसफार्मर तक वो लाइन डाला है. सो इससे पावर जस्ट गोज इनटू द ट्रांसफार्मर एंड देन देयर इज़ अ सेपरेट मीटर which is coming from Bescom. This is called bi-direction meter, where the electricity is count from the solar and the comparison between the Bescom's main power is compared in that. The difference between that is calculated and the government pays the fund.
The electricity is sold to the Bangalore Electricity Supply Company at the rate of 7 rupees per unit. This is an inspired and inspiring idea from his grandfather that has now eliminated the burden of electricity expenses and changed their lives from those who buy electricity to those who sell it. It is an idea that can change many more lives like yours and mine.
Prithvi Mangiri's journey as a buyer of electricity to the seller of electricity is quite fascinating and inspiring. The adoption of this technology can change lives of many like him. With DM Kumar, Nihal Kidwai in Bangalore for NDTV.
Thank you Lottoland for this wonderful initiative and thank you for the support. I'm sure this will change the lives of many people. Keep supporting us. Thank you.